Black Myth Wukong has completely blown up in the faces of the activists online who have complained about it for years at this point, and the IGN reporter who smeared this game's developers says she's no longer on Twitter and has locked her account after the game has gone absolutely viral. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Black Myth Wukong has already done absolutely amazing for game science. It has smashed records on Steam. I think over the weekend it is going to take the #1 spot for most played game ever on the platform for most concurrent people in game. I think that is most certainly going to happen in just a couple of days. It's already, today, when I'm recording this, beaten its all-time peak, hilariously enough, and it is now sitting at 2,358,580 people, all-time peak as of 4 hours ago. But now that the game is so successful, like a lot of us thought it was going to be, the IGN reporter who smeared this game's developers, thinking that it was going to go over well and it might have been some like career-defining moment for her, has locked down her social media. Now, I'm not saying she can't do this, right? If she feels uncomfortable, if she doesn't like the criticism that she's receiving, she can hide behind a block and hide behind a protected account. I personally just think it's pathetic. I've never privated my account. I've never blocked anyone. I'm blocked by her, by the way. And she's got a locked account right now. But that's how these people act. They say something, they do something, and then they can't stand by their statements or their stance, and they go into protected mode, which I think is kind of pitiful. It says, though, the IGN reporter Rebecca Valentine has indicated she's left X and locked her account in the wake of her smears against Black Myth Wukong developer Game Science completely and utterly failing. We saw this happen last year as well with Hogwarts Legacy. There were tons of journos who were trying to attack it, and then as soon as the game came out and it was a giant success, they either went completely silent about it or they flipped the script and said, wow, this game's actually really, really great. And that's, funny enough, what IGN is doing right now. IGN, every single time they talked about Black Myth Wukong over the past year, since this, report came out, if you can even call it that, the smear campaign came out, they had attacked the game and the developers. Every time they mentioned this title, they would mention the IGN report. But now suddenly that the game has come out and it is a smashing success, they're not doing that anymore. If we just take a quick peek on YouTube at IGN Black Myth Wukong, they've got the first 13 minutes of gameplay. They've got the official launch trailer, how to unlock the secret area in Chapter 2, how to absorb spirits, and hey, I think that this is good that they're doing this because they're ultimately talking about the game. They're doing what game journalists should do, which is cover a game, but they're clearly trying to cover their asses now because they had smeared the game so much and they realized, oh my god, we have to put up these guides or else we're not going to get views because everyone is pointing and laughing at IGN, at Screen Rant, at PC Gamer, and they can't stand by their freaking stance anymore. So now that IGN is putting up all of these guides, Rebecca has suddenly left social media. Her bio on X now reads, no longer on Twitter. Do not DM. She locked her account and protected her posts, so only her approved follower can view her posts. I personally think she's probably going to be wiping her social media. She's going to be deleting a lot of the posts that she's made over the past, year about this game. But her leaving X and locking down her account comes in the wake of it seeing massive success despite repeated smears levied at the game. Soon after its release, it became the second most played game based on concurrent players on Steam of all time. The game hit a peak concurrent of 2,223,000, and the only game it did not best was PUBG Battlegrounds, which has an all-time peak of 3.2 million, and I do think over the weekend it will hit these numbers because we're talking about a Tuesday release and it's already doing amazing. Never mind going into the weekend when people actually have a ton of free time and everybody's basically on at once. Now, the article says the game's success comes following the report in 2023 that accused the developers of sexism and misogyny. It was reported that several posts have surfaced from Chinese social media written by individuals from the studio that contain multiple references to genitalia and sexual innuendos. Now, of course, you are allowed to not like these posts. You are allowed to sit here and think that, oh my god, they're smutty and that they're, weird. Yeah, sure, you can think that, but at the end of the day, that does not mean that the developers are sexist. It just means that they're making jokes that you find personally distasteful. It does not mean that they act unprofessionally towards women or they view women as, the lesser sex. It's not like they think that females shouldn't be playing their video games. I personally, as a woman, don't find offense in these types of things. I've been on the internet for a long time at this point. There's no joke or humor that really bothers me. Even I make expense at my gender a lot. Like when I'm driving in video games, I say, oh my gosh, a woman's driving, be careful, everybody off the road. Like, it's fine to do that. Even if you don't like those jokes, that doesn't mean that they are so offensive that these developers should be canceled and that people should lose their jobs. And yes, a lot of the quotes and statements that IGN had referenced were found to be mistranslated, and it's just so sad to see this happen. I get that you might not like somebody on this development team or game science in totality, but at the end of the day, they're just trying to create a video game. And yes, they are ultimately just human beings that are going to do things like make jokes. I say this all the time. I still support titles that have teams filled with lefties because there are individuals out there who can leave their politics at the door and try to create something new and unique and fun and exciting. And yeah, sometimes there might be somebody on a team that I politically disagree with, but that's okay because they are just trying to create entertainment. And that's something that these journos, these activists just don't understand. They try to get people to boycott titles based on the fact that they don't like someone who's behind it. Like with Hogwarts Legacy, they tried to get people to boycott it because of JK, even though she didn't actually touch the game in any way, shape, or form. She simply signed paperwork saying, oh yeah, you can make this game, let's do it. Ah ha ha, this is gonna be so cool. And look at Stellar Blade. They tried to bury Stellar Blade by saying, oh my gosh, these developers clearly think that women are just sexual objects because the women are sexualized in the game. And now they're doing it with Black Myth Wukong. They're saying, oh my gosh, these developers are sexist because the devs have made jokes on social media in the past. In my opinion, that's completely and utterly ridiculous. Yeah, you might find these jokes distasteful, but they're just jokes at the end of the day, and they shouldn't really be taken that seriously. Now, I personally am very happy to see this game's smashing success so far, and it is also pretty funny to see these activists go into hiding because they write articles, they make claims on social media, and then instead of sticking by their stance, they lock their accounts down and they run and hide, which is just pretty pathetic, in my opinion. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. I guess that is what Rebecca is doing. She made these statements, wrote these articles, can't stand by what she said, and now she's running and hiding because she sees how much of a massive success this game is. So it will be interesting to see if anybody else does. I know, of course, when it comes to the Screen Rant situation, they have been hiding the activist behind that review as well after it was found out she worked for a communications consultancy company, which is not very shocking at all whatsoever. But I'll be keeping my eye on this to see if any other journos run and hide. But for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.